We know somebody who enjoys Latin, don't we? He's familiar to listeners at LBC, Jacob Rees Mogg, who is the leader of the House of Commons, Conservative MP for North East Somerset, previously of this shire, and always prone to perhaps giving the odd Latin quote in the House. Would that be right, Jacob? I think you're a fan of this ancient language, are you not?
I am, but I'm afraid my knowledge is not as good as yours. Most of mine comes from reading the Dictionary of Quotations and finding that there is very often an apt Latin quip, which it's quite useful to use. But I wish I were a Latin scholar. I think that good classical knowledge is a very high level of intellect, but I'm afraid it's not one I reach.
So you don't agree with this suggestion that's long been said that Latin is a dead language and therefore completely pointless to learn in school?
Latin is a dead language, as dead can be. First it killed the Romans, and now it's killing me. No, I don't. I think it's an excellent education. My children are beginning to learn Latin now, and as you were saying, it helps broaden their education. It opens up the ancient world from which we draw so much of our current civilization. And some things you do at school need to be difficult. That's what stretches the mind and develops the intellect. But I think your key argument that you put in your introduction is actually the levelling up argument. Do you remember a few weeks ago there was some woke statement about how people shouldn't use Latin quips because it discriminated? Well,
Yes.
That's completely the wrong way around. What you want to do is ensure that people are comfortable with Latin quips because you've given them such a good education. And that's what levelling up is all about. It's not about stopping difficult things. It's making opportunity available to everybody. And so I think this is a really exciting initiative and would strongly encourage it.
All right, in that spirit then, I'd like to just put you to the test if you don't mind.
I thought you'd try this.
Now.
I've just said my Latin's hopeless.
No, I'm sure it's perfectly fine, and we shall find out now. I just want to remind listeners that Jacob did attend Eton, which is one of the most expensive private boarding schools in the country, and then he was privileged enough to study at Trinity College, Oxford. So again, he is really the creme de la creme when it comes to being well educated in this country. He's also perhaps in the privileged few that have learned Latin, which is now being broadened out to everyone else. So let's just see if Jacob can answer these simple questions. Now, do you recognise this Latin? What does this mean? Floreat etona.
That means let eat and flourish, and is the motto of my old school.
OK, well, I started with an easy one because I didn't want to just, make this simple for somebody of your supreme intellect. How about this? And forgive my pronunciation because it has been several decades since I learnt Latin. Igna natura renovator integra.
No, I don't know that one.
Through fire, nature is reborn whole. I'll give you a more simple one. Saper orde.
Orde, something to do with here, and sape, hope.
Sapere orde. Dare to know.
Right. So sapere rather than, I was thinking of spiro. Yes.
No, fair enough.
And spiro, whilst I breathe, I hope.
Indeed. And if you get this one right, then I think we might need to send you something because this would be very impressive.
I'm not getting any of them right. I mean, as I said to you, I'm level of my Latin is the Dictionary of Quotations.
Well, I know.
Rather than you need to get the Prime Minister on to do a Latin quiz.
Well, we'd love to get the Prime Minister on. Prime Minister, if you're listening, do come on and we'll give you a Latin quiz and then ask you some questions about other things. This is the final one before we do get on very briefly to other things. Now, listen. Non torsi subligarium.
No idea.
Don't get your knickers in a twist, which might be useful the next time you're at the dispatch box, and you're getting little pesky moans and groans from the opposition benches. Instead of saying, calm down, dear, you could say in Latin, don't get your knickers in a twist.
Yes, I think it's slightly better to answer the question rather than to try and defend one's questioner.
Yes, I wouldn't like to see somebody like Jess Phillips's response if you did try and say that, although I know you're both friends, despite the ideological divide.